So let's get started. I think Mark made some forward references to my talk, but I'm going to talk about something else. So in the future, I'm going to talk about the data sharing which we are going to implement in the PHRT SPSS project. But today I'm going to report about a project which I've been involved in the last few years, which is about international data sharing of knowledge about BRCA1, BRCA2. So BRCA1, BRCA2 is a gene which is involved in early onset of breast cancer. Okay, so let me just give you some background, then tell you what we do and what our current challenges are. Some things we can actually do, and some things are pretty complicated and take much longer than expected. Okay, so BRCA variation is relatively common and it's well known to have certain implications, namely an early onset of breast or ovarian cancer. So the lifetime risk of developing breast or ovarian cancer with pathogenic BRCA mutation is significantly increased. So instead of 5%, maybe background rate of getting cancer, maybe at age 50, here that's maybe 5%. With the pathogenic mutation, you have a lifetime risk of, you have a risk of getting cancer at 50 already by 50 to 60%. So it's really important to know whether you have that mutation or not. So even men can get cancer early, and there are certain new drug treatments, PARP inhibitors, which show effectiveness against these mutations. So the problem which we have is that there are many variants in BRCA1, BRCA2. It's a relatively long gene, and many of these variants we don't know is this a pathogenic or a benign variant. So we have maybe a few thousand benign variants, we have maybe 5,000 pathogenic variants, but we have many variants where we don't know exactly whether this is pathogenic or not. So it's a variant of unknown significance. And then we also have some conflicting variant classifications. So this is from ClinVar. So the other problem which we have is that variant databases are disjoint. We have ClinVar, UMD, LOVD, and different variant sources. And when you overlap them, then there's a big disjoint set. So you find many variants which are only in ClinVar, not in LOVD, many in LOVD which are not in ClinVar, and so on. So there's many different sources of the data. So this led us to develop a central site, what we call BRCA exchange, and that BRCA exchange should serve multiple goals. It should talk to genetic counselors and physicians who actually need these variant classifications. It should talk to curators who make variant classifications. But it should also enable patients maybe to get data, and maybe even deliver data for variant classifications, which can then be used for variant classifications. And it should interface maybe to genetic testing labs who do a lot of testing of the patient genotypes for BRCA1 and BRCA2 variants. And we should also use certain standards, security standards, data formats, and so on. So this is the goal. Initially, we focus on the clinicians, the curator side, and that we apply the right standards and protocols. And we have essentially two types of data. We have variant level data, which is relatively easy to share, so which is essentially the variant, a certain location of the genome, so it's the classification of that, maybe some allele frequencies, and maybe some other type of data. So this is relatively well structured. It's easy to share because there's not so much privacy risk of knowing about a specific variant, whether it is pathogenic or not. So then we have case level data, and that's much more complicated data. This is data which is annotated to the patient case. That is usually, and that's currently a very small percentage of the data that we have. We hope it should grow. That is a detailed data of the cancer history, when it was the onset of cancer, maybe some pathology information about the cancer, the family history, some pedigrees, and so on. And usually that is quite heterogeneous. There's, I don't know, many different fields, and they could be encoded in different ways. And so on. So there is where we have the privacy concerns. Here we probably need some controlled access mechanism and some privacy mechanisms, which we need to think about. Okay, so Bracket Exchange has essentially 3 aims, and I'll briefly describe these aims and to explain where we are. So aim 1 is that we talk to clinicians. So Bracket Exchange is a website and a tool where clinicians can go and get variant classifications which are good enough for clinical purposes. So like a high quality database for variant classification. So the second one is, aim 2 is to talk to curators and researchers. Where we collect all research data about the variants which we collected so far. This may contain disagreeing information, additional molecular assays about a variant and so on, which is typically not given to a patient or to a curator. So that's aim 2. And aim 3 is that we go to clinicians and patients and other people to collect case level data so we can actually use this for curation purposes later. So somewhat easy parts are aim 1 and aim 2. Aim 1 is relatively simple, and that's essentially done. Aim 2 is what we work on, essentially done, and aim 3 is where the challenges are. And I'd like to talk first about aim 1, aim 2, and then come to these challenges. Okay, so aim 1, I would say it's relatively straightforward. So we have essentially developed a website that looks like this. There's a very simple search form, and we can enter a variant in some HGDS nomenclature or some other nomenclature. And when you search for that variant, then you get information about the classification. So this is the expert-reviewed portal. This is something where we have a high-quality classification. This is what patients or curate or general counselors or physicians could use. So this is the search field, so you use, for instance, this variant nomenclature to search, and then you get a list of results with matches, and then you get essentially the classification. For instance, this variant here, it's benign, or that's little clinical significance. You can get then more details about a specific variant. You get maybe other nomenclatures, where it's the genome, and maybe which amino acid is changed, and maybe some other information, why it has been classified this way, evidence for that classification, and so on. And what you also get is a version history of the classification. It has changed in the past, and this is very important for clinical practice, because maybe you would like to go back and see why have you decided to use, when has maybe the classification changed in the past? For instance, here it has changed from not yet reviewed to pathogenic. Yeah, so essentially we have a monthly release cycle where we gather all the data from different sources, and we have these data versionings, which is a property which is required for the MTA. Okay, aim 2. So here we would like to add data which can be used for curation purposes. The curation is done in our case by an international consortium, the Enigma consortium. They have a quite elaborate classification procedure for classifying a variant. It has different steps and different cases. When it's a variant and it's a truncating variant and there's no, let's say, predicted splicing changes, then this would be a pathogenic variant. And there's different other cases which you have to go through, maybe which could contain checking maybe frequencies and control data sets, or maybe some prior probability calculations based on some bioinformatics tools. Okay, essentially the goal is to run this kind of pipeline, this kind of classification scheme on all the variants which are in the database to reduce the number of variants of unknown significance. And essentially what we try to gather is all the information which is needed to do that. So this is the all public data, so this is all the data which is publicly available. Essentially it contains just more fields, and it has maybe yield frequencies in different populations which can be used for classification, some prior calculations and so on. So here's the current data sources which we use. These are public data sources. And yeah, we can essentially see this as a federated system where we get data from different sources. And that's relatively uncomplicated from a privacy perspective because these are public, this is only variant level information. So currently this is the largest database, public database of BRCA1 and 2 variants, so about 19,000 variants, and I think we have 6,000 or so are classified as either pathogenic or not pathogenic, but there's still quite a few left. So you can even access it from Python, and there's some APIs which are available. You can download the full data if you like. Good. So the complicated case is case level data. And here we would like to develop infrastructure to collect, store case level data. This is the genotypes, clinical data, family history data, and so on, and provide analysis tools. So, and where do we have this kind of data? We have data with genetic counselors who have a record of a specific patient, maybe with their family history. This patient had a family and their parents also had cancer at a certain age, and this is very useful information. Then there's genetic testing laboratories who get the sample, the blood sample or the saliva sample to test it, and then they have some side information for each of these tests. And maybe you would also like to connect to the patient himself or herself, and to national sequencing efforts and cancer registries, which also have collected a lot of information. So which data do we want to collect? Maybe simplest is maybe family history data, and then there's maybe, but you could also benefit from having more detailed clinical and genetic information, the tumor pathology, some demographics, post-segregation information, and so on. Good. So I briefly talk about 3 different efforts here. One is the connection to the Beacon network, which we will hear later about. So I make it very short. One is an effort to connect to patients, and the third one is an effort to connect to genetic testing laboratories. And there are challenges connected with each of those, which we have not fully worked out. And if there are solutions to that, I would be glad to do. Okay, so the Beacon network is the first one. So if you have a variant, let's say a variant of unknown significance, and then you need essentially to find patients. So that also means you need to find an institution which has a patient which has a specific variant. And this is what this Beacon network can potentially provide us with. You can search for a variant, and then you get a list of all the institutions which have a patient or a person in the database which have that specific variant. That could be useful because then the genetic counselor could actually call them, get the genetics information or the clinical information for that specific patient. That can then lead to the successful classification of the VUS into a pathogenic or benign variant. That's one mechanism. Obviously, it just facilitates like the manual processing afterwards, but still, it's a good first start. A second project which we are engaged in is working with clinical testing laboratories like GeneDx or Ambry or Invitae. And they get thousands, probably 10,000, almost 100,000 samples per year tested for these 2 genes. And they have some information on why the test is performed, sometimes because the person had early onset of cancer or that family history of cancer. And that is information which we can get together with the test results. So the idea here would be to get data from one testing lab, combine this data across multiple testing labs, and then do joint analysis across the data from these different testing labs to compute some pathogenic probabilities for each of these variants, and then give them back to the laboratories which have to classify these variants, and also make these probabilities publicly available afterwards, so they can be used by curators for variant classification. So that's an ongoing project. It's a tricky one to actually convince the genetic testing laboratories to give us this data. There's contracts involved and so on. And we're thinking of different ways to do that. For instance, one way would be to run actually the analysis inside of the testing companies, and they only give us summary statistics of their data, which we then need to combine with the data from others. That would be one way. which we explore. So the last app I would like to mention is it's an app which currently is mostly designed for use with general counselors. So essentially, it resembles more or less the drug exchange website. You can search for a variant, so that's very similar. You can look up a variant details, but you can do one additional thing. You can subscribe to a variant, and whenever there's a variant classification which has changed, maybe because there's new data, then you can get notified, and that's particularly useful for a general counselor, because they have to provide this information to the patients if the variant classification has changed. So we implemented it in a way that it is privacy preserving, so if this data is not given to a server, it's all done on the mobile phone. This is social mechanism. But you could imagine that such a device could also be used to directly talk to the patient and use it as a device for capturing data from this patient. Maybe there's some additional questionnaire. Do you have family history of early onset of cancer? Do you maybe can you maybe we can make maybe a photo of the genetic testing report and collect this kind of data. So we're exploring. There's many more details which we need to figure out. For that, there was recently a workshop in Santa Cruz about data sharing around patients, and there's some good progress made in this area. Okay, so with this brief summary, so the aims of the Braca Challenge or the Braca Exchange is to share variant information for healthcare professionals and patients, provide a platform to facilitate research and variant creation, connect to case-level data databases to reduce the number of variants. So we do need help, so to adopt this platform, but also to connect maybe to case-level data repositories which exist. And obviously we also need funding and so on, but that's another issue. And much of these technical, legal, ethical, and organizational challenges are very similar to other diseases. So this is BRCA1, BRCA2 is just one specific set of genes. Many challenges look exactly the same for other genes. So we think about extending this to maybe other syndromes, Lynch syndrome, or the mismatch repair genes, and so on. So with that, I would like to thank you for your attention and acknowledge our collaborators, which are many.